Okay, so for the next photobomber, I'm going to take a look at Illustrator. I'm going to go Create New. I start with a print document because print gives me a higher resolution as opposed to going into web, which gives me a smaller resolution. I start with the larger one, and then if I want to, I make it smaller after. Pick letter. It gives you an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Go Create. I like working with this workspace, the Essentials Classic. So if you might default to Essentials, Illustrator might do that. I prefer the Essentials Classic because it gives me tons of options up here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the white arrow tool, click and hold, go to this little arrow at the end here, click on it, and it tears off the white arrow tool. I drag that over. I'm going to do the same with the pen tool, click and hold, tear off, move that over. Same thing to the line tool. And the same thing with the shapes. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. The shape area, the line, the pen, and the white arrow. So the first thing I'm going to do is click and make a basic shape here. You can fill that in by going up here. This is your fill area. Selects different colors there. You can pick your stroke color right here and your stroke width here. If you don't want a stroke on that, you just say no stroke, and likewise there's no fill. The black arrow tool, there's the difference between the black and the white arrow tool is the black arrow tool controls things like scale or width and height ratios. So you can just move the, kind of changes the width and the height ratios and scale. Also rotates and allows you to move it around easy. The white arrow tool allows you to click these things called anchor points and then change the actual shape. So when you try clicking on this anchor point, suddenly it moves the object around. You have to click off the object with the white arrow tool, hover over, grab the anchor point, and then it will let you drag the anchor point and change it. These things here allow you to curve certain anchor points if you want it curved, or you can keep it sharp like that. The pen tool allows you to add anchor points, so you can click along this path here, this line, and then go to the white arrow tool, grab that, and then you can add anchor points and change and modify the shape that way. You can also delete anchor points like that. So I'm going to go to the white arrow tool, I'm going to make some adjustments to the anchor point here, get kind of a shape that I think is kind of cool. And there you go. So now you know the white arrow tool modifies things. The black arrow tool moves, changes the scale. If I hold the shift key down, changes the scale proportionally, or changes the width and the height ratios, and also rotates. So those are the difference between the two arrow tools. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little line with the pen tool. So I'm going to click and drag and click. If I click pull and drag, you see the pulling and the dragging creates a curved line. Right? So I'm going to stop that. I'm going to go to the move tool, click on that, click on the shape here. I'm going to select no fill, and I'm going to put a stroke on this. I'm going to put a block stroke on that. Oh, sorry, no fill. Click on the stroke, block stroke. Pick a thicker width so I can see it. Maybe a thicker one yet. Now I can move that over here. My black arrow tool, and then the white arrow tool, I can grab the ends here, and I can go and I can modify those anchor points as needed. There's that curl thing, if I can push, curve that if I need to, or keep it straight. Here's a better demo of that. Another way to curve a line instead of using this dot here would be to go to this thing that looks like a triangle. It's the anchor point adjustment. Pull, and then that's another way to curve a line. So I'm just going to make some quick adjustments to this line here. There you go. So I'm already creating some interesting shapes. Next thing you need to know when you're working with shapes and whatnot is you don't see a triangle here. So I'm going to go to the star tool, click and drag the star, I'm holding it, click the up arrow, that adds points to the star, the down arrow removes points to the star, and I keep clicking the down arrow. Eventually I get so few points to the star that it makes a triangle. So there's my triangle. I'm going to fill that in with a red, no stroke there. And again, if I go to the white arrow tool, click off, hover over the anchor point. That allows me to do this. My black arrow tool lets me move this in here. If I want to move this red to the back, I click on it, right click and arrange, send to back, move that around, scale that, rotate it to wherever I like. There you go. If I want that back at the front, click on it, right click, arrange, bring to front. If I like it at the back. All right, so that gets you going on making some shapes, using the white arrow tool to modify those shapes, the black arrow tool to scale, change the height and width ratio and rotate, add anchor points, delete anchor points, draw lines, and then the other thing is to use the line tool here to create lines. So you can do that, start with a simple line tool, throw a stroke on that, and just explore the program. It's going to be really important over the next few days. I'm going to make that a gray and move that into place right there. And maybe move this to the back. So I'm going to right click, arrange, send backward. And if I keep doing that, right click, there you go. Okay, so now I'm going to close these so these aren't in the way. I've made my interesting shape. I'm going to select the entire shape. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to group those together so now I can move them all around together. I'm going to bring in a photo and then throw this shape and some text over top of a photo from my final Photo Bomber demo. So what I want to do when I'm bringing in photos into Illustrator is I want to file and I want to place those photos. So I'm going to go file, place. You don't want to open them, you want to place them. So best practice for your photos is to file and place. I've got a photo selected right here. Place, and you just drag that there, and there are the photos placed. Move that here. I'm going to right click, arrange, send to back. And there's my shape at the front, and I can kind of move that shape around to where I want. What if I want to make some modifications to some of these colors here and add some gradients instead of some flat color? Then I'm going to select it, go to black arrow tool, select that, right click, ungroup. I'm going to select the blue. If I click up here, you can see there's some basic gradients that the program gives me. But down here there's a Swatch Library, this stack of books, gives you color libraries, and gradient libraries are super handy. So I'm going to go into Seasons for whatever reason, and then click the different ones. I feel like this one kind of matches, these ones kind of match the vibe of the yellow and the brown. So something like that looks good. And I might do something here. Find those seasonal swatches again. And maybe see what that looks like if I do that. I'll just leave it at that for now. And close that. And now I have a weird shape over top of this thing. If I want to get rid of this white, I'm just going to go over to this tool here called the artboard. And then I can just trim that artboard around the area here. Click on that, and there you go. I might want to trim this edge a little bit more so it looks more in alignment with the thickness, so let me just be a little more picky. Eyeball that. Maybe give it all relatively the same border. I think things look better when there's a little bit of a thicker border at the bottom. So there you go. And then I'm done that design. One thing I should mention is if you come up and your window, some sort of window is not open, or if your toolbar is closed, that's all available under Window. For example, these toolbars, the advanced is off. I just click the advanced and turn that back on, and you see that comes back on. So if at any point you're using Illustrator, something's disappeared on you, most of the time it's under Window, and there'll be something turned off. So you see toolbar here, this is clicked, it's on now. When it's unclicked, it's off. So there you go, just check. And then that's how, if something's disappeared on you, you can find it. When you're completely done your design in Illustrator, and you're ready to hand it in as a JPEG to me, just go File. Sorry, when you're saving it, usually you go Save As. It saves it as an Illustrator file, a .ai file. I would prefer you to export this when you're done, when you're completely done everything. You want to export it, Export As, and you can pick PNG or JPEG, doesn't matter, but those are image files. And then check Use Artboards. And then Photobomber Demo 2. Save that. That's exported. I would pick RGB. Keep your medium or high resolution. And okay. And now you're done.